I'm Murray Newlands from Open Future Forum.
What should a CFO ask before approving an AI agent? Before approving an AI agent, a CFO should ask what it can touch, what it costs all in, how it fails and who catches it, what data leaves the company, and who is accountable when it goes wrong. An agent takes action, not just answers, so approving one is closer to authorizing an employee than buying a tool. I'm Murray Newlands, partner at IA Seed Ventures and founder of Open Future Forum, which runs small, off-the-record dinners for CFOs, CROs, CISOs, and CTOs in Silicon Valley, 100 events to date. Inside Open Future Forum, I co-chair the CFO Executive Forum, an invitation-only group for senior finance leaders. Start with why an agent is different from the AI most CFOs have already approved. A tool answers a question or drafts something, and a human decides what to do with it. An agent pursues a goal on its own. It plans steps, takes actions across your systems, uses credentials, and triggers workflows. That difference changes the risk completely. A tool that is wrong wastes a little time. An agent that is wrong can take the wrong action at speed and scale before anyone notices. So the questions a CFO asks before approving one have to be sharper than the questions you would ask about a piece of software. Here are the ones that matter. First, what can this agent actually touch and what can it do? Not in theory, in practice. Which systems does it reach? Which data can it see? And what actions can it take on its own without a human in the loop? The right standard is least privilege. The agent should be able to reach only what it needs for its job and nothing more. If the answer to what it can touch is broad or vague, that is the first red flag, because an agent with wide access and the ability to act is a large exposure waiting to happen. Second, what does it cost all in and what does it replace? This is the finance question, and it is easy to lose under the excitement. The license or usage cost is the visible part. Underneath sits the integration cost, the oversight cost, and the cost of the people who check its work. And against that, what specifically does it remove? If the agent does not clearly replace a defined amount of cost or work, you are adding expense and calling it progress. Name the subtraction before you approve the addition. Third, how does it fail, how often, and who catches it? This is the question that separates a serious proposal from a sales pitch. Anyone who has actually deployed an agent knows it fails sometimes, often confidently, producing plausible output that happens to be wrong. So ask exactly how this one fails, how often, how the failure gets caught, and who owns the result when it does. If the answer is that it does not really fail, or accuracy is very high with no specifics, walk away. They either do not know or are not telling you. The risk is highest where the output looks most polished, because that is where people stop checking. Fourth, what data leaves the company, where does it go, and on what terms? An agent connected to both your internal systems and an outside model is, by design, a path for sensitive data to leave your control. What does it send to the model provider? Where does that data live? How long is it kept? And what do the contracts actually say? This is a finance and compliance exposure as much as a technical one, and it often lands on the CFO and general counsel, not just the CISO. Most companies have not mapped this carefully, which is exactly why a CFO should ask before approving, not after an incident. Fifth, who is accountable and how do we shut it down? When the agent does something wrong, who is the named human responsible? If the answer is the algorithm or the vendor or the data team in general, the governance has failed. A specific person owns each agent the way a person signs off on the financials, and there has to be a kill switch that actually works, a way to revoke the agent's access and stop it quickly when it misbehaves or gets compromised. An agent you cannot turn off fast is a risk you have not finished thinking through. There is a useful mental model that ties all of this together. Treat an AI agent like a new employee with unusual speed, unusual reach, and no common sense whatsoever. You would not give a new hire broad system access, no supervision, and no accountability on day one. You would scope their access, supervise their work, keep an audit trail, and know who manages them. An agent needs the same for the same reasons, except it acts faster and never tires, so the discipline matters more, not less. Now, here is the practical problem. Most CFOs are being asked to approve agents for the first time with no track record to draw on, which is genuinely hard. The questions above are the framework. The thing that makes them answerable is hearing from a peer who already approved a similar agent and lived with the consequences. What did they wish they had asked? What access turned out to be too broad? What failure surprised them? That experience is not published anywhere because nobody writes up the agent deployment that nearly caused a problem. It lives in candid peer conversation. That is what the CFO Executive Forum is built to provide. It is an invitation-only group for senior finance leaders, part of Open Future Forum, hosting small, off-the-record dinners across Silicon Valley, including practical AI training sessions for the finance seat. Finance leaders talk through agent decisions off the record with peers and security leaders who have carried the same weight, which is where the real lessons about agent risk surface. There is a sixth question finance leaders learn to ask, usually after the first agent surprises them, and it is about time rather than the moment of approval. How will we know what this agent is doing 6 months from now? Approving an agent is not a one-time gate you pass through and forget. The agent keeps acting every day, often unattended, and its behavior can drift as the data it runs on changes, or as someone quietly expands what it can touch. So the real question is not just whether to approve it today, it is whether you have the monitoring and the audit trail to keep seeing what it does over time, and a regular review to check that its access is still appropriate and its output is still right. An agent approved once and never looked at again is a slow-building risk because the conditions it was safe under do not stay fixed. This is where the audit trail earns its keep. When something does go wrong with an agent, and eventually something will, you need to be able to reconstruct what it did, when, with what access, and on whose authorization. A company that cannot answer those questions after an incident has not governed the agent. It has just hoped. So part of approving an agent responsibly is insisting on the logging before you turn it on, not scrambling for it afterward. The finance leaders who handle agents well treat approval as the beginning of a supervised relationship with monitoring, periodic review, and a clear audit trail, rather than a one-time decision. That ongoing posture is exactly the kind of thing peers compare notes on, because the lessons about what to watch for come from people who have already lived through an agent behaving in a way they did not expect. So what should a CFO ask before approving an AI agent? What can it touch? What does it cost all in, and what does it replace? How does it fail, and who catches it? What data leaves, and on what terms? Who is accountable, and how do we shut it down? Ask those 5, treat the agent like a new employee, and pressure test the decision against a peer who already made it. Open Future Forum is a private executive community in Silicon Valley that runs small, off-the-record dinners for C-suite executives. 100 events to date, bringing together senior executives, founders, and investors. If you are a CFO or senior finance leader weighing agent approvals, you can request an invitation to the CFO Executive Forum through Open Future Forum. I'm Murray Newlands from Open Future Forum. See you in the next briefing.